Bring in Senators Markwayne Mullin and Ashley Moody. Guys, welcome to the show. Obviously, this has been a day none of us planned to see happen, but Senator Mullin, I want to start with you because a lot of people look at the rhetoric of local officials there in Minneapolis and in Minnesota, and they say, well, maybe this is something that could have been predicted. What's your response to all the chaos that we've seen there in Minneapolis today?
Well, first of all, the mayor and the governor both have blood on their hands. Without question, the rhetoric that they use, because words do matter, has driven this type of violence because they have emboldened the individuals on the streets to behave this way. They feel like they're invincible. Why? Because the elected officials, even the Democrat Congresswoman Omar has even incited violence by saying we have to fight. We got to stand our ground. Governor Walz was saying that the occupation of his state and of his city needs to end, that they need to withdraw their troops. I mean, words like that, he knows exactly what he is saying. He knows who he is speaking to when that is taking place. When the mayor and the governor purposely call off state and local police and say that they are not going to assist in any way for what? For the federal officers to do their job? I mean, tell me what crime the ICE is doing other than doing their job by getting those that the Biden administration let in by the tune of over 10 million individuals off our streets and the criminals that are sometimes very violent criminals off our streets. And they know exactly what they're doing. And so the violence has taken place. I mean, think about it. Today, there's a report of an ICE officer getting his finger bit off, and then unfortunately, a deranged individual that came in to cause max damage with a loaded pistol with an extra mag that was completely loaded was shot and killed. Now, how much more does this got to go on before the Democrat leaders there take responsibility for their words?
You're exactly right. And Senator Moody, Minnesota's Attorney General Keith Ellison, says that he'll be in court on Monday arguing to end what he says is an unconstitutional occupation. As a former state attorney general, what is your assessment of the legal pushback there from Minnesota state leaders?
Yeah, that's a great question, Laura, and thank you for highlighting that. It was great to hear from my friend and colleague, Senator Mullin, talking about how this rhetoric referring to our federal law enforcement officers as modern-day Gestapo, et cetera, is inciting this type of behavior and pointing out that what are supposed to be considered the top cops of their state. You referred to Attorney General Ellison bringing this lawsuit. Remember, this was an attorney general who has no focus on safety and law and order. He poses with the Antifa handbook and encourages subversive behavior, and that's exactly what he's doing while these state leaders suggest that it is the other side of the aisle creating chaos. Look at the Arizona AG, who just yesterday, by the way, this is an AG who got voters to elect her to be the top cop. She's never practiced law. She was a law professor. She's a radical. And she comes out yesterday and says people should use stand your ground laws to shoot ICE officers. I mean, these are Democrats who, by the way, hate stand your ground laws when law-abiding citizens use them to actually defend themselves against criminals. But now they want to use them and tell people to go after ICE agents. And it should shock no one that we're seeing these types of incidents tragically unfold because the Dems, and I would suggest even foreign interests, are so busy using these agitators, some of them paid, as pawns. They do not care about their safety. All they care about is ginning them up, getting them out there. They want them to put themselves in harm's way because it helps them create this frenzied, false, deceptive narrative. And all they care is about winning a partisan narrative war.
That's right.
I hope people are watching this and they are hearing what I am saying. The Dems do not care about these agitators or so-called protesters' safety, because if they did, they would say, when Biden and his handlers told all of our state and locals to release everybody in their jails that were here illegally, even though they committed felonies, and now Trump is going after those people that Biden released, trying to get them out of the communities, they would say, let them do their jobs. Trump won on this. They won. This is this. They're trying to enforce the law. Don't just let them do their jobs. I got an idea, state and locals. Why don't we help them? That will bring peace and order and safety, real safety, to the communities, not ginning up these agitators.
Well, you're right, Senator. And you look around the country, ICE has been enforcing these laws all over the country, and yet you haven't seen any of this chaos generally anywhere else except for these Democrat-run areas, right? So there's one common denominator here, and we all know what it is. Yesterday, they had the 5-year-old they were trying to use as their propaganda piece. Today, it'll be this to gin up all of that frenzied energy that you just talked about. Now, Senator Mullen, you mentioned this a few minutes ago. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin posted that a Homeland Security investigator's finger was bitten off during the worst of these protests. I mean, this hate and vitriol against law enforcement officers really cannot continue. It doesn't matter what your political views are. That is absolutely wrong, and everyone should be condemning it.
Yeah, and keep in mind, too, ICE would even be on the streets if the local and state law enforcement was doing their job, because what ICE should be doing is simply going to their jail and picking these illegals up and deporting them. That's the way it's worked in the past. And then what the local law enforcement would do was reach out when they need to serve a warrant. In the past, they just simply go to the jail. But since local law enforcement isn't willing to do their job, President Trump ran on restoring law and order and safety and peace back on our streets. And that's exactly what he's doing. And I believe with all my heart that the local law enforcement, the state police, want to do their job. They're handcuffed because these politically left Democrats that are driven because their hatred towards President Trump. And honestly, at this point, I think their hatred towards our country and our Constitution, because these guys are just simply enforcing the laws. If they would do their job, then this stuff happening on the streets wouldn't be taking place. Forget the idea that Biden let 10,000 or 10 million to 20 million. We really don't know the accurate number in this country legally. Today's the day we're talking about. Yesterday's yesterday. Today, we've got to enforce the laws to restore law and order, and so law-abiding citizens can go outside their streets and enjoy the beautiful country that we have.
Yeah, and what's amazing is those places where the local officials have worked with the federal government and federal law enforcement, they're able to enjoy safer streets and safer communities. Look at D.C., look at Memphis, look at Louisiana. Anywhere that they've embraced it, it's actually worked. Now, Senator Moody, I want to ask you about this because this was a very predictable situation now. AOC posted on X that all Senate Democrats should block ICE funding this week. So there's going to be a lot of political pressure on this vote coming up. What would your message to your colleagues on both sides of the political aisle be to try to avoid a partial shutdown?
Yeah, look, Chuck Schumer just came out today and said that he would vote against the DHS, the Homeland funding bill, and shut down the government. For what? To protect criminals that have raped, murdered, have violent criminal histories. Unbelievable. And please keep repeating this. The American people need to know we are working so hard to fund this government, to make sure it's working on behalf of the American citizens that sent us to Washington to do the hard work and keep their government working for them. And the Democrats are saying they're going to shut down the government because they don't want federal law enforcement to enforce the laws. And the main reason they are doing this is because they want to protect the people that are here illegally that have committed crimes against their communities. And these are very dangerous operations. When you try and go after someone who has committed crimes and arrest them, they are dangerous. It's not only dangerous to law enforcement, it's dangerous to anyone that is around. And so for everyone's sake, I've proposed legislation, the HALO Act. Senator Mullen has signed on to that. It's gaining traction, and that would give a 25-foot buffer to these federal law enforcement officers when they are doing these dangerous jobs and trying to arrest people. So I would say two things. Number one, the Democrats need to get their heads on straight and remember who they're serving, and that's this country and its citizens, and fund this government. And number two, why don't they get on board with Senator Mullen and myself and push forward legislation that will keep everyone safe while federal law enforcement are doing their jobs? Let's see that happen.
Absolutely. Senators, thank you so much for spending time with us tonight. Let's get it done. Let's keep everybody safe in the meantime. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having
Great
us
to be
on.
with you.